Hey, everyone, and welcome back to Crunching Your Growth, the show where we dive deep with entrepreneurs who built, scaled, and evolved their businesses by thinking differently. I'm your host, Phil Masiello, entrepreneur, brand builder, and founder of Crunch Growth, a revenue acceleration agency. We've been helping brands scale profitably for over 20 years. We don't just teach theory, we write books on it. And now for the shameless promotion. I just launched my latest book, Why Behind the Buy, which is available on Amazon, which talks about the modern way to advertise and how you have to connect with your customers, and really why social media is so important today as a tool, short form, long form video on social media as a tool to connect with your customer, let them know who you are, what you're all about, and before you sell to them. Too many times people try, or brands try, to just go after the sale, buy my product, but you're not giving a customer a reason to buy your product. So that's what the book is all about. Little shameless self-promotion. Pick it up if you find that type of thing interesting, and leave us a 5-star review. We'd love it. So when you listen to the show, you're not just getting advice from me and other entrepreneurs, you're getting real world experience, lessons learned in the trenches, wins, losses that shape the playbook, and we use to help brands thrive. So if you're serious about scaling, about doing something and doing the work that it takes to build something that lasts, you're in the right place. Today's guest is a true global tech visionary, Roberto Capodieci. From writing his first code at age 6 to building blockchain solutions that are reshaping industries, Roberto's journey spans continents and decades of disruption. He's been recognized by world leaders, collaborated with international agencies, and now leads groundbreaking ventures in AI, gaming, and decentralized systems. So if you're building in tech, dreaming of startup success, or just want a dose of visionary inspiration, this is the episode for you. So let's dive in. Let's talk to Roberto. Let's see what he has to say. Let's get a feel for his background. And it sounds to be like it's going to be an interesting show. So, Roberto, welcome.
Hey, thank you, Phil. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, my pleasure. So that's a heck of a background. Why don't you take us back a little bit as to, how you started, where you've been, what you've been doing, and I know you're in a different country, different time zone, so uh, let's talk about all
Sure.
that.
Well, I'm Italian because nobody's perfect, and I grew up there. My father was a head of a very large group industrial doing metal powder of metals, and very things that are very very specific. And it was the early days of computer informations, and I've been lucky enough to have showed the way into this, and I very fast learned that my skill was easy to monetize. So I started, earning some money for pieces of software from when I was very little. I incorporated the first company when I was still 14, underage, with authorization of the court for minors, and and then it's been like always a road up, starting company, building them up, selling them, and or moving and starting business in other part of the world, because I've been living in different continent as well. I am now in Southeast Asia. It's 20 years that I'm here. But yeah, I think that is interesting when you have a skill that it can bring value, it can solve other people's problem, and that you can build businesses on top of it. So it's like a blessing in life, right?
Yeah, but you lived in the States for a while, right? You lived in Florida.
Yes, correct. So we spent 12 years in the States, of which the major part of the time in Florida, also a little bit in California and in Illinois, but mainly in Florida.
So
Yes, beautiful.
were you focused on specific industries with your skill set, or were you doing just whatever you felt like doing?
Well, the beauty of information technology is that it applies to many different industries. So I've been blessed with experiences in so many different industries. I've been managing and directing the development of software for cutting marbles, which in Italy is something particular because a lot of marbles from Italy is famous. So even the building of machinery, they do cut marble, and so the numeric control, and so something I did for plastic surgeons, and for archaeologists, and for many different industry, the production control with camera, video, all at early stage, all when all these were emerging new application of technology. So applying a camera to check the roundness of granulates produced in an industry that make metal granulate, which happened to be my father's company, but that was a very early experience. I was 14 15 when I did this. For example, was something that was very new, or management of documentation flows inside the company in a network of computers. Yeah, all this good, beautiful experience, and starting company and finding people to work with me, and growing. So at 19 years old, I had 45 people working with me, for example, with which is not easy to
No.
delegate to things. So
Yeah. So, just for a little background, so in your background, you talk a lot about blockchain. Can you
mhm.
explain? Is it easy to explain blockchain to people? Because I think we hear that term, and I'm not a technologist; I'm a marketer, and I know that we have a lot of people out there that aren't technologists, but they hear blockchain, 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 and it sounds so technical. But in
Well,
reality,
this is blockchain is something more recent. Is a 15 years old, like topic, made something made with all the technologies. But just to explain what blockchain is, first of all, I have to defend blockchain from the fact that it's a little bit tainted as a name because it's connected with cryptocurrencies, and cryptocurrencies are connected with a lot of scams, and a lot of people is immediately prevented when they hear this name. Blockchain is like to say database is known much no less than a piece of technology. How people use it and is all another thing. In the age of information where we are now, where the information is the set of value,
yeah,
the blockchain does something that is amazing, that brings the revolution, is can create a uniqueness, a singularity in a digital data, digital content, digital information. So if I have a painting that is original and I sell it, I don't have the painting anymore, and somebody has the painting they purchased from me. But an image, for example, cannot I can copy and paste the image and is bit by bit identical. So it was something very difficult to find the one part that is who's the owner, which is the original one, right? And with blockchain, we can do this because I cannot copy and paste my Bitcoin and give it to somebody else. Because if I could do that, Bitcoin would be worth zero. In the moment that I pass to you my Bitcoin, I don't have it anymore. And it seems something nothing special, but this is actually fundamental to be able to work with digital elements. For example, if the title of ownership of my car is managed in the blockchain, then I can really sell my car to you. I pass the title ownership digitally, and I don't have it anymore, which is something that I couldn't do before, right? And doing this, I can eliminate a lot of middlemen. So before we need to rely on a third party to know the truth about something, like this electronically allow people to immediately know the truth without the need to go to a third party. So these small factors can create a lot of innovation where today there is the need to rely on a large corporation, etc., in order to host and hold for us what we consider the truth. So it's something that we don't have to believe in, but is mathematically proven things, and is decentralized, which means it's not in a single place. So we don't need an entity to guarantee something for us. It's quite powerful, but yet not understood very well by people.
so essentially, it's a ledger. It's a ledger to move. So if I own a painting and I
Mhm.
sell you that painting, I'm transferring ownership through the blockchain. But at some point, if somebody wants to verify the ownership path, it will eventually lead back to me as the original owner. Is that correct?
Yeah, the fact that call it a ledger is 100% correct, meaning that the ledger in terms of financial ledger when it comes to cryptocurrency can be true, right? But is a place where you hold and host a certain situation. So I can write a piece of text and it stay there, and I can address it, and I can see who's the owner of this piece of text per se. So the painting is a specific case because you need to bridge a physical good with the digital information related to that good. Okay, in case of a car, there is the VIN, the having the unique indicator of the vehicle. With the painting, is more complex. How to embed a guarantee that the physical object is the one referred by the digital content. But if the value is only the digital aspect, so tokenization of a building, tokenization of other assets, rather than simply when I lecture how blockchain work, I make an example how to play tic-tac-toe or chess using the blockchain. So the blockchain hold the truth of which is the state of the board, and the player can request a movement. So move horse from a4 to whatever. And in this case, the code can say if the move I'm requesting is legitimate. If not, to bounce back my request, and if it's legitimate, update the status of the board so the next player find the board in the condition, right? So there is a guarantee that the move people do are legit and not just moving, messing out with the pieces on the board, and keep a status of true of the current state of the board. So this is what, in practical term, is possible to do with this decentralized system. So it can be applied for all that is called the Web3. You can put medical record in it or refer to medical records that allow us to control our own information rather than give the control of our information to other. A simple example: in a world where Web3 works, I have my address registered in the blockchain and I can update it. Then, if I register a bank account, a new phone number, and something else where I need to give my address to these people, if I change address, I don't have to inform 5 different entities. I make one single change, and this is reflected on the record of the company that are authorized in this moment to see my address. So it is a much smarter and logical way to manage information and allow the owner of the information to control it and authorize who they want to access and see it. So that's also another basic concept for use cases for the blockchain.
So security, it's more secure.
It's secure because it's cryptographically signed, so it's much harder to tamper with. It's practical because information is available 24/7 every time. You don't need to wait for a third party to open their office in order to make changes to it. And it can be included in software flows. So if I go to the doctor to get a health certificate in order to register at the gym, to go to the gym, now the doctor is going to sign a piece of paper that can be easily counterfeited. I go
Sure.
to the gym, they interpret what is written there, and in a blockchain, it will be issued electronically, will be signed by a person whose signature is recognized by the government as an doctor that went to the university, because his diploma is also on the blockchain, and so on and so forth. There is a chain of things that can be verified, and I can allow the gym to see it is a certificate that has an expiry date, so it's been signed in a certain moment in time, and they can automatically make my key unlock the entrance to the gym until this expires. I don't know, just giving random example, but it can be all a logic flow managed by software, and so there is no more need of people, because people are source of errors, of corruption, so there are countries use this to manage the ownership of land, so you don't find yourself the piece of land that tomorrow belong to the cousin of the guy at the registry office, as it happened many times also in Italy. And so yeah.
I got you. So the other big topic is obviously AI, which we constantly hear about. I don't know if you're doing much with AI. As a user of AI, I think it's great in certain respects. I think that its analytical capabilities are tremendous in looking at data and large amounts of data, pulling that data, turning it into something that's actionable and results driven. So then also as a marketer, we use it for idea generation. We use it for content, things like that. I'm not a big fan of the image side of it because I think that the images look fake, but we use it to we use it to edit video, and from our perspective, we use it. It gets us about 60% of the way, but I don't really ever think it's going to take away jobs in my industry. I mean, it may optimize jobs, but you still need people to make things work better. What's your take
So
on
that
it?
the yeah, the say goes like this, it's not AI that is going to take your job, is your peer that is using AI that is going to take your
Yeah,
job if
yeah,
you don't start using AI as well, right? um, I have to say that any comments made on AI become old in a few days,
right.
because it's evolving at the speed of light, literally. And any consideration made today, tomorrow may be already outdated in terms of quality of results, and in terms of what kind of results you can expect from it, what automation, what reach, etc., that AI has. So much that it is risky to make a standing, on a particular things on the capacity, because this really is hard to freeze in time. But a lot of interesting consideration should be made on the effect of the use of AI. They used to say, if Instagram tomorrow closed down, how many models are out of jobs? Like how many girls suddenly are not as beautiful as they were until the day before. In terms of AI, the amazing thing is like it dropped a 20% boost of IQ in the planet, at least. So I think that people that had an IQ that was limited now has a companion that is giving them all the answers that they need, and they make their own, make those their own. So everybody comes out as more intelligent, thanks to the support of AI, right? And I can assure you that is the case when you go to level. It is interesting because when first came out, I would say that it was a very knowledgeable person with like an 80 grade of IQ, so not very intelligent, but he knew it all. Okay, slowly this IQ level is increasing. They measure it even, and we're going to a level that is on the 110, 120, 130, 140. So it is like on the top layer of the average worldwide, because I would say average should be around 120. I think some exception are up to 130, 140, personally 142 when I was measuring with Mensa, but above it becomes super exceptional. And the capacity to measure and understand that somebody is way more intelligent than you is an act that require intelligence. Like when somebody is really slow, let's say, and next to them there is a very well intelligent and experienced person, the comment that this person said was, "Oh, intelligent so much," but is actually incapable to give an evaluation of how much, right? When you are like when intelligent, somebody is much more intelligent than you understand how much more intelligent they are. But when it goes above a certain limit, it's impossible to grasp this. And what I'm scared of is when, and probably we are close to there, when AI can exercise in certain field, in certain methodologies, not in everything though, an IQ that is 180, 200, 240, which for us is impossible to even comprehend the reasoning done at a level. So, when you are extremely intelligent in a group of not so intelligent people, they look at you like you are dumb in a certain way, because you behave differently, you behave strangely, you say things that don't make sense. AI risk to get there, and as it's easy for us to take for a ride, if you want somebody that is not so smart, AI can take any humans for a ride easily, because it wouldn't take a lot to understand the weak spots, to understand what to say, to understand how to convince somebody of something. And we're very gullible as humans, each in his own method and level. Now, when you talk about marketing, think about the power that something like this has in helping decisions when it comes to shopping, when it comes to other things. When you have this thing that you rely to even for medical information, because most people go to ChatGPT to say, "Oh, there is a strange rash on my skin," what it is, and you upload the picture, and you get also some consultation that may be more precise than some doctors that are not up to date with what's going on. So, yeah, we are relying more and more and more into this AI. AI is getting more and more powerful, has more capacity to do things, not only so by even go to the web, make a booking or something, etc., etc. A lot is connected to robotics as well. So we saw more and more robots that can do the laundry, take them out from the laundry machine, fold them, ironing, etc., etc. And that's the ChatGPT of 3 years ago, right? So it's happening in a very very short amount of time. I think that there is a lot of things we cannot even guess what is going to happen in the next few years with AI.
Yeah, I would. I've seen a tremendous leap when we first started using it. I guess probably 5 years ago. I think um, just to do content, and it was creating content. And I remember we were using this platform. I think it was called Jasper, and we were using this platform, and it was really just built around content, just writing
Mhm.
blog posts and writing content. And I remember they had a challenge to see if anybody could write a book in a weekend and then get it published on Amazon in a weekend. And people were doing it. They built a book in a weekend and got it published, and it was, it was okay. But at that time, you really had to take the content out of AI, out of this program,
Rewriting.
put it into Grammarly, clean it up, and then edit it. And today, you know the it does a really good job of creating that content a lot faster and a lot more streamlined, and um, uh, in a really authentic voice. So if what we did with it was, like, I'll tell you how I use it. I took all of my books and all of my information, and I put it into a Google Notebook, and then it uses that to learn how I speak and how I phrase things. Uh,
Mm.
and and now it really does write almost in my voice, which is, I think, is pretty incredible. But
Right.
we don't use it for all of that. The thing that I use it for the most is really data analysis. I just think that it's amazing how quickly it can take a huge amount of data and just analyze it and come up with a conclusion and a path forward in a very short period of time.
Yeah, it's incredible how each person has his own way to go, and you know software developers are the most blessed people, I think, because the AI goes close to reasoning with code. So when there is time to write code, is incredible. In writing, in fact, I always say there is writing a book before ChatGPT and writing a book after ChatGPT. I've been blessed to publish one before ChatGPT, so there is the authenticity of writing there. It is I believe, a tool that is so powerful that and so uncontrollable, because there cannot be regulation that stops the use of it. There are models that people can install in their own computer, and they work very well there without having to go online. Nvidia came out with some supercomputers that cost $3,000, so people will be able to run very large models even at home. It is something that is going to have a lot of interesting implication, but is in the overall can be used for bad things, but can be used for mostly, and I hope, very good things. So many solution, many discoveries. For medicine, for a lot of things are going to be brought in by AI, and that's pretty good, positive
Yeah,
future.
I think I think, like you said, it's a powerful tool if you use it correctly. I mean, if you choose to use it in a incorrect way, then there's not a lot that people can do to stop it. But it's the same thing with credit cards. You know, you have a credit card, it's secure, but if people want to try and steal your credit card information, they can, you know, they'll find ways to steal it. You know, you have to be diligent. So
because the credit card, like the email, have one of the worst protocols in the planet. It's just stuck there since I remember when credit card had the machine that goes clunk clunk,
yeah, yeah.
and just the piece of paper was valid enough to claim credit. Yeah, there are some standards that are so bad. They're just standards that is hard to get over, and they patch on top of it some strange kind of solution like two-factor authentication, OTPs, etc., etc. But the basic is what it was like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and I think we're gonna have a time to move out of that. Email, if you think the email is one of the first decentralized things, if you think at the beginning of the email world, every office of home had a small mail server, and when you send an email, you go to work, you sit at your desk, your email go from the mail server in your office to the mail server of the office of the person you're writing to. So there was no central party that hold all the mail of the planet. This came later with Gmail, with Outlook, with all Hotmail, what it was, American Online. So this provider start controlling the emails of millions of people, and they centralized email. But email was a protocol that was born to be decentralized, to just, in theory, every person should have their own small mail server at home, and then interception would be much more difficult if you want, right? So many things end up centralized, many services end up centralized, which should have grown in a decentralized manner. Social media in general, like communication, like if you think about Skype, which has just been killed by Microsoft.
Right.
Skype was a nice company from Estonia that came out with it. It was fully decentralized, peer-to-peer system, impossible to intercept, secure communication, amazing, until Microsoft bought it and opened it up. So it started becoming easy to intercept for certain governments, but not for others. Others, law enforcement had to put interception either at the beginning or at the end of calls, but you cannot mass intercept it. That's why I ended up being killed because it was too much of a difficult tool. Because a lot of these large providers, like think about Gmail. Gmail, you don't have any advertisements inside Gmail. It's free, and it costs a lot to them. So they make money by selling information and allowing access to government. So when a government want to listen to a phone line of some of a person, they pay a fee to the phone company. There is no little, and it's part of the business model of people that detain information of others. That's why blockchain and decentralization are important, because remove this opportunity to mass collect. That's another reason why people there was all this bad mouthing about 5G. 5G doesn't kill birds and doesn't spy on people through mysterious chip that people get through vaccination, which is all funny stories. But 5G as a protocol, an infrastructure that doesn't have the requirement to go through the central phone company servers to close a call. If two people are close to each other, with 5G, the call make a very short round from a person to another without going to the central, servers. That's why it's impossible to invoice 5G calls by the call, but you need to have a fix per month, for example, because it's harder to collect those calls as well. And that's why it's also difficult to be intercepted as a kind of call. So they need to come out with a lot of extra solution to collect the information on when people call other people, and even more complicated to intercept the voice communication between two people when is a pure 5G calls. That's strange how suddenly everybody hated 5G. Nobody ever hated 4G. Was okay. 5G suddenly is so bad. Like there are particular interests underneath it. Why some technology are deployed. One more time, decentralizing things is better in efficiency, is safer in terms of privacy as well. So This
Yeah.
is something.
So how do you feel about cryptocurrencies?
Money are an highly regulated thing. Okay, we grow up with the idea that money are matching the border of a country for some strange reason, right? So US dollars are America, Canadians dollar are Canada, Mexican pesos is Mexico, right? But who said that? In fact, no,
The
but think
government
about it.
government
It's
said it.
because, yeah, but it's because there are central banks that manage the currency. But if it was something organized in a different way, we have this idea to lock things inside border of countries. So much that there are corporations that are more big and more powerful than many other countries. Starbucks, for example, okay, beautiful coffee. I'm not saying anything bad about Starbucks. You have your coffee card with your points, right? Now, if you notice, if I have a Starbucks card from Singapore and I put 50 Singapore dollar inside to drink coffee in different Starbucks, if I fly to Indonesia, I cannot use it in Indonesia to drink coffee at Starbucks, right? Not because they don't have the capacity to do it in terms of technology. Can you imagine? It will be a second, then it will be fantastic for them to make, their currency, because think Amazon gift card, they are used as currency. You can claim the money back. So there is people that make cross-border transfer using Amazon gift cards, for example, right? Even when they scam old people and they say that they need to make this payment and they need to go buy Amazon gift cards. So to understand the power of this, those are money, right? Money managed by corporation that are like government with their feet in many different countries, right? Because they have outlets, they have head offices in so many different countries, but they are a single corporation, right? So country by country regulation are a little different, but everything tends to be limited to a country. The power of a cryptocurrency, beside all the terrible like scam that is attached to it, risk, nobody should invest in those because there are no investment tools. But as a unique item, this has a validity in the internet, pretty much. And the internet is international by the name itself. So it goes above the possibility given to Starbucks and their coffee cards, which is not a little thing because these people has money to lobby governments in different countries, right? So in the moment that I have something that I can use to purchase maybe in-game assets or to purchase uh, credit for calls or whatever else, okay, and has value everywhere in the world with a unique representation of value, which means that the one unit for me that I live in a third world country and people is very poor compared to the one unit to somebody in a wealthy country is exactly the same thing. It's not different. So it can multiply the value of the purchase power that the currency has. As something that is powerful in terms of concept, right? And in the fact that many governments are accepting it as well. So you can have a freelancer in a country where cost of life is very low, but also salaries and income very low. They charge in Bitcoin and 0.000 whatever, 0.000 whatever to somebody in another country for a job. They speak the same language. Terms that in terms of financial cost is going to be clear exactly how much it's going to cost without having to go through third party exchange rates that you don't know how much they rob you when they do the exchange of the value of the currency, etc., right? That's why there are countries in the world where they adopt the US dollars as main currency, even in North America. I think maybe Vietnam, if I'm not wrong, or there are some other country where they were so bad in their own currency that they said, okay, let's use dollars, and they adopted the American dollar as currency.
Well, the
This with
euro.
cryptos is powerful.
Well, the
Euro is an experiment that I loved it conceptually. Has been a disaster in terms of implementation, really bad. And but that's made the whole space much easier to navigate, because before there were some country where they're very rich, other country where they're very poor. Now everybody's poor. So at least there is no difference. Okay, there is no difference, and you know exactly how many euro you're consuming. So you know when you're spending, how much is the worth of what you're spending everywhere you go, except the UK, because they stayed out of this mess
Yeah.
wisely.
So what do you do now? What's your business now? I mean, you've started so many different businesses in the past. What is your primary business now?
Okay, that's something interesting because I took a sabbatic for a few years to relax and rest after the last big company, but I cannot stay steady. So in this sabbatic, in reality, I put myself in the middle of many things. So I work with an AI company to decentralize AI, so to create a protocol to have, rather than a big data center where a ChatGPT server are controlled by a few people, to have the equivalent in a distributed peer-to-peer network that run a large AI, but in the hand of tens of thousands of people and not just a few, which is a powerful thing. And then I started something very strange, a new experience. I was just mentoring this company, and then I become a part of it. That does practically an add-on for flight simulators. So when people spend time on their flight simulator flying with their airplane, they can also earn a token for the work of a pilot. And with the earning of this token, they can buy a set like airports or other airplanes, and and make them a use. Every asset earn more tokens. And if they earn a lot of tokens, because at the checkout, practically, it is a set of a cost in US dollars. So let's say an airport can cost $60 per se. When you go check out, you can either pay with your credit card $60, or with the PAX token that you earn flying as a pilot, or because you have already assets. And each of these tokens is worth $1. So at the checkout, you airport costs $60. You can pay $40 with PAX, so 40 PAX and $20, right? So we're coming out now, so people can sell $4 to other users the tokens and the asset. So if a new user can buy Pax token for less than $1 each, let's say for 80 cents each, and then use those to go buy a set in the marketplace. And it's interesting because we have 17,000 users registered. It is a niche, the one of the flight simulator, but it's a huge niche. Microsoft has the best flight simulator. They celebrated 2 years ago 10 million active pilots. So it's a lot of people. So it's a good market.
Wow. That's
Yeah, something else. It's different. It's nothing that belonged to me. I never flew with a flight simulator. But, nonetheless, there is also this, and it's an interesting experience. As I was telling you at the beginning, I did software for archaeologists. I did software for plastic surgeons, which was very interesting to see the catalog. And and now flight simulator is something else.
Yeah, that's I guess that's interesting. I mean, it's a little bit more technical than I can deal with. I would never be a pilot. I wouldn't be good at it. It's not the way my
Yeah,
brain works.
it's fun. It's quite addictive, I have to say, to fly it for pretending fly, but it is an interesting planet. But I also do consulting. So when there are companies that wants to set up the centralized system, have an idea for a service that can be used by people that can be implemented, I have all the experience that is needed. This until I'm restarting a consulting company like I had before, which has large business. But life is so beautiful when you don't have to think about the 60 employees that they need to feed their families, and it's like this. I'm father of four. I just became grandpa, so it's nice to enjoy the family as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's running a business is difficult when you have employees and you have, you know, I think that yeah, it gets to a point where I've thought about it before. I keep saying, I just don't want to hire more people. I just don't want to hire more people because more people, it's more aggravation. But at the same time, uh, I know I understand the outsourcing model and I like the outsourcing model, but the problem I have with it is, you know, is that I like to be able to hit a deadline. I like to be able to have people that I know I can make sure that they get a job done versus relying on somebody who's, not necessarily has a vested interest in the company.
Uh,
And so,
is
and
it
it,
is a generational gap? This thing, I had a huge issue in start working by decentralizing and outsourcing work outside. There is a beautiful book which is called Remote,
yeah,
and practically starts saying that if you need to be there to watch your employee work to make sure that they work, then you made a mistake when you hired.
yeah,
In theory, at the moment of hiring, you know that you hire somebody that has the ethics and the goodwill to be there and do the work, that they don't need to be watched. So at the point, they can do the same work when they're sitting, at the beach rather than in another place and meeting once in a while. But there is it's also true that there are structure to put in place, and I know because I've worked a lot in this, how to structure a work that require, like, I don't know, like 50 people to be executed, in which a good 30 can be people they outsource things to, and they shouldn't be on salary base, they should be on project base, on a small execution and payment, small execution and payment, and a part that should be in house that has the ability to create this small chunk of work to be outsourced, and has the capacity to put together all these pieces of the Lego, let's say, or execute things. Not easy, but much more efficient though,
yeah,
and is an open model that allow to work with many people without having to be stuck with some. Because the worst thing is when you have to fire somebody. That's the most difficult things for a business, like a business owner. You want, the
yeah.
CEO.
Yeah, I mean, the people who work directly for us, they're all over the place. I mean, we have people in New York, we have people in Michigan, we have people in North Carolina, and that part of it works. It's when we bring in project people and they work really well on one project, and then you give them a second project, and then all of a sudden it's
Oh
like
my god.
you've got to you going, hey, I need this by Tuesday, and then they disappear, and you don't hear from them, and then all of a sudden Tuesday they're like, oh, sorry, you know, had some issue. Yeah, that's the
Rescues.
part that aggravates me because and it's so difficult to find. I mean, we do have some groups that we've been working with for a long time that do a really good job for us, but it's that's the part that I struggle with. So anyway, um,
Noise.
yeah, we're almost out of time. So any parting words for aspiring entrepreneurs, especially in the tech world, or
Yeah, because we spoke about all but now entrepreneurship as a topic. But yeah, for sure. I mean, I noticed, and I start companies since I was a little kid until now, and I never had an investor that put money on a business. They all been bootstrapped. So sacrifice at the beginning, self finance the initial cost, and then let the business itself finance its own growth. This is the best way because people tend to have much more respect for the money that they're spending because they know what it means to earn them, and so they don't waste money. And it's easy to waste money when somebody gave you a bunch of money and you
right,
don't
right,
have to
right,
work for those. And also allow people to pivot when necessary. So if you grow slowly, you know the direction of every new step that you do when you grow. And this is also in terms of teams, people, services, or product that you offer, etc., etc. So I noticed the most successful business are going like this. Cool idea, check the market if it's ready for this idea. If there is a good response, start implementing, start getting people to use it, pay a little bit, and the money you collect, hire somebody else, and so on and so forth. I don't know.
there you go.
That's my suggestion for everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time, and we have all your information. We put it in the description. If anybody wants to get in touch with you, they'll be able to find your all your information in there. Um, but yeah, what an incredible ride through innovation with Roberto. I think your story proves that true growth isn't just about scaling a company. It's about pushing boundaries and staying on top of trends and staying curious and building with a purpose. So I found that the conversation was pretty inspiring, especially on the technology side. And I think you explained a lot of things that people have questions about that don't necessarily understand, but do affect entrepreneurs and what we're doing every day. So, um, I appreciate you taking that time to explain it, especially about the blockchain, because I do think that there's some entrepreneurial ventures out there for blockchain that you can use. It's bigger than my head can understand, but
If somebody has some cool idea they want to confront or understand, and using the centralized systems of blockchain, not much about the crypto world, but about the decentralized aspect of things, please contact me. I'm happy to have a chat and see if I can help.
yeah, that's great. Thanks again for being on, and we appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks to you for having me in your show.